So when I plan a campaign, I don't do it the normal way anymore. The normal way just didn't work for me. What I've started doing instead is I started creating writing prompts in my setting. Now, that might seem silly or overly complicated, but I feel like it makes for a better experience overall for you and your players. The way I do that is, rather than planning out a story and planning out adventures and that sort of thing, I create different seeds on the campaign map. And what I'll do is I'll create characters or different parts of the central conflict, and I'll place them over the map. And that way the players have the chance to come across it, but they might not ever do that. They might choose to go a different direction, or they might choose to skip that particular dungeon. And what this does is it makes it interesting. It gives the players much more agency. It allows me some freedom. I'm not spending tons of time prepping before each campaign. Now, I'm not going to lie, there is a lot of prepping that you have to do, but it's all done at the beginning or in chunks. You're never doing tons and tons of prepping before each game that you're running. As an example, in my own campaign, the central tension is based on the Pantheon. My campaign is pretty loosely based on the Mabinogi and Irish Celtic mythology, and it borrows a lot from their pantheons and creation stories and things like that. When my players were on their way to this town on this new continent, they happened to see off in the distance a temple. Now, whether they went in there or not, I wasn't really concerned about that. But in that temple, I had Morrigan, who is one of the evil goddesses in my campaign, entombed in a tree in the deepest parts of this dungeon. Now, they may never have come across her, especially if she stayed entombed in that tree, but they decided to check out this temple, and they began exploring it. As players do, they began to take actions that affected everything else, and before they knew it, they had freed Morrigan from her tomb. Now, I had no intention of freeing her. I had things in play that, maybe down the road, if the characters didn't act on certain other things, she may have become freed. But that was a big maybe, and it all depended on other things that they did. Now they have this new conflict, and the tension is already starting to raise because they released her. It makes it much more compelling now because it's not me doing it, right? I didn't release her, they did. And it's also really giving them a lot of agency because they have so much freedom that they can go and free one of the evil gods that is now going to be bent on their destruction. Now, this can sometimes throw you for a loop because you may have certain things that you kind of plan that you would like to see happen later on in the campaign. For instance, all the players found themselves compelled to board this ship to the new continent. And I decided to place the missing king from their kingdom on this ship as a prisoner so that I could get him to this new continent for them to discover later on in the campaign. Now, my original thought was much later. This ship also happened to be a slave ship, and there was a secret level that was where all the slaves were housed. And the players discovered the king, and they discovered the slaves, and they committed mutiny. I wasn't planning for them to do any of that. Now, instead of them being random adventurers on this new continent, they are vassals of the king with his authority to reach out to the people and create alliances for him. This way of approaching the game is just so powerful. It gives your players so much agency, and giving them the power to tell the story gives them the opportunity to be creative. And for me, it makes it so much more fun, and I hope it makes it more fun for them as well. But I think in any case, it's more enriching as an experience. If you're interested in this method of running the game, then leave a comment below and tell me what your thoughts are. Maybe we can do a more detailed video, or I can answer any questions you might have for implementing this technique in your own game. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. So I'll try to do it this time without forgetting a bunch of stuff like turning on the camera.